The TrekWorks YouTube channel is sponsored by Tenna Controls, makers of lighting kits, soundboards, and more. Tenna Controls brings your models to life. Well, hello there everybody, and welcome to part 1 of our Battle in the Mutara Nebula build-up. I'm working on the 1/1000 scale USS Reliant here first. Starting off tonight on the bench, getting my holes opened up for my navigation lights. We're going to have all these flashing navigation and marker lights on this model and on the refit as well. So what I started off here with is I took a little bit of sandpaper and I just sanded down these little nubs here on these corners and around the saucer edge where the sort of navigation lights were there present. We want to be able to drill a nice smooth hole there, and we don't want to start off on top of a nub there. And we've also got to move these slightly inboard just a little bit because the nubs that were there were right on the edge of the seam here, and that's not going to work for us for doing our lighting. So we're going to do that on the top and the bottom of the saucer. I have my miniature drill bit in my little micro pin vise here, so I'm just going to start off here on the front one first, and I can see just a little spot right there where the original nub was located. And we also in here have this little tab, which I think before I get started here I'm going to go ahead and get that out of there because we've got to remove that anyway a little bit later. That's going to interfere right where our little navigation light's going to come through, so I'm just going to real carefully slice this off with my hobby knife here. Get that kind of shaved down. And there we go. As far as I could tell, I don't see any other spots where we've got one here on the front here too. We're going to worry about that in just a second here, but let's go ahead and get this one done. As I said, I'm moving it just a little bit inboard so that we don't interfere with the sidewall there on the front of the saucer. And you can see how easily we went through with this nice sharp bit. Now I'm keeping these holes nice and small, as you can see there. We don't want to go out of scale on this. We want to keep this real small, like, you know, this is only a 1/1000 scale ship, so I'm going to be using SMDs to do my lighting on this, so we don't have super bright flashing going on there. We don't want it to be, you know, too bright for the size of the model. I always want to kind of keep that in mind. And this is going along really fast here. You can see we've got these three, and we've got these on the rear corner here. This little nub is sticking up just a little bit. Got to get rid of that. Going just a little bit inboard. Yeah, this is going to be pretty cool. Like I said, we're going to do all of our navigation lights, and we'll do our lower sensor lighting here and our bridge, the warp nacelles, and the photon torpedo firing effects. We're going to be able to fire torpedoes from both ships. I really don't think I'm going to go ahead and do all the lighting on the windows on these. It's a lot of work to go ahead and open all that up. You have to go and order the templates that are available from Paragraphics. There's some aftermarket photo etch parts that are available for these kits that allow you to do that drilling, but I'm not going to go that far on these. Let's see if we've got these two here on this part that are clear. The one at the very front we're going to have to take care of, but let's start off here on the back part next to the impulse crystal where we've got these two located. I'll make sure we kind of keep them in the same spot here. That one. can see with a nice new and sharp bit, this goes through real easy. Just want to make sure I keep these even here. Okay, those look great. We'll go ahead and do our okay. And those came out pretty good. We've also got to do one here on the top of our bridge, just behind the dome of the bridge, but we'll get to that a little bit later. What I've got to do now is I've got to get rid of this, so I'm going to get out my Dremel tool here, and we're just going to take this down real careful. I'm going to try to leave that lip intact as much as possible at the front. I should be able to shave the rest of this off with my hobby knife pretty easily. Looks pretty good. We've got enough of these connecting pins left on here to make this nice and strong, so we don't need to worry about losing that one. Okay, so we should be able to drill through here now. We're going to put this in the same distance inboard as we did the ones on the side there. And there we go. As you can see, where our hole came through there, right here, it's far enough inboard where the SMD is going to mount on there just fine, and we won't have any problems with it not coming through good. So what we've got to do now is we're going to prepare these parts for our basic painting. And what we always do on these models is we go in and what we call light block on the inside here. So my method is to use some flat black. In this case, we're not going to be doing any window lighting, so usually I'll do my flat black, which really covers really well, and it doesn't take that much to make it so the light won't come through anymore. But I usually will back that up with some bright white, so that when I have window lighting going on, all of my SMDs or whatever I use for lighting on the inside of these will bounce around in there and reflect and light all the windows nice and evenly. But we're not going to need to do that in this case, because we're not going to do window lighting. We're only going to have lighting coming out of the bottom of the sensor, the bridge. I've got to look and see what the parts look like for the shuttle bays here. Hopefully those are clear parts. I haven't even looked at that yet. And we'll see what we've got to do there for the... if we can use clear parts, we'll do a little bit of lighting back there as well. And of course the warp nacelles and the photon torpedoes, the impulse engine, the impulse crystal. So we've got a little bit of lighting to do there, but we don't need to put all that white in there. So what I'll do now is I'm going to get the refit kit out, and we're going to go ahead and repeat this procedure on that. So we'll be back with that in just a second. Then we'll head over to the spraying area and get these all prepped for paint. Okay, be right back. Okay everybody, so we're right back here now, and you can see that we have the Enterprise Refit saucer up here on deck. And we've got to do the same procedure here. Now on this particular one, I was just looking at it, we've got 3 of these nubs on the inside that we've got to remove because they're right in the way of the spots where we've got to drill our holes for our navigation lights. Same thing, we've got the male part of the pin here on the inside of these. So let's get this taken care of first before we do anything else. I'll just show you what we're doing here. We're taking the hobby knife and just cutting these off. These can be cut off pretty easy with the with the hobby knife. Those thicker ones are a little tougher, so I just decided to grind those down instead. A little easier. Hopefully I won't break my hobby knife here. Noticed in the last year or so buying these number 11 blades from X-Acto that they seem to be more brittle than they used to be. I don't know if they changed something about the way they make them. The tip, the very pointy part of the tip seems to break off easier, but maybe more carbon in them than what they used to have. And so we've got to get rid of these here as well. We're going to take our grinder to these. Let's bump up the speed just a little bit. Okay, I think I can get the rest of that off there with the knife. Let's go with the front one. Apologize for the noise again, everybody. You guys that have watched all the TrekWorks videos will be used to this grinding Dremel sound by now, I'm sure. Last one. Okay, we should be able to clean up the rest of this with the knife, like I said. Let's give that a shot. Just want a flat surface there. Not worried about it being, you know, pristine and sanded smooth and all that. I just want a flat surface there so my SMD can sit down on there nice and flush when I glue it in place. We've got some 0805 SMDs on our way from our good friend Jerry at HDA Model Works. Some nice red and green and white ones. Stubborn piece right there in the corner. There we go. Got rid of that. These 1/1000 scale kits are really nice. This is the second one of the refit that I'll be building. The original one I built a while back was fun to work on. I did the sort of the Star Trek 3 version where it was, after it was self-destructed, I used that really cool Brad Hare conversion piece for the saucer up front for the self-destructed saucer. That turned out to be really cool. And I used the Paragraphics battle damage set for that too, with all the holes in the hull and everything. That worked out really nice. I was really pleased with how the model went together. These 1000 scale kits are engineered really nice. And they're nice and accurate too. They look great. Okay, so we've got that. Now we got to go across the top here and just lightly shave off these little nubs like I talked about so we can start our drill bit without skipping around on top of the surface there. Plus we're going slightly inboard of where these were, like we did on the Reliant, because these are too close to the edge. These in the back will be fine. They're a little bit more further inboard next to the impulse deck here. We could drill right on those spots. Okay, let's check out the bottom. Gotta go ahead and shave this down a little bit now. Leftover pin. As I said, we'll be okay. We've got, this is a fairly small model, and our losing a couple of these pins is not going to overly impact the structural integrity of this model. It should still be just fine. We've got a nice edge we can glue to. Okay, cleared up. And now we've got to just go and get rid of these little nubs here on the bottom as well. We'll clean that up a little bit more with some sandpaper. We're just getting it roughed in right now. Okay, great. Alright, let's start off on the forward one here. We're going to stay right on that line. Good. Believe it or not, these tiny little holes here are going to put out a lot of light. Like I said, to me, when you're doing the lighting on these Star Trek ships, and this is something I learned, if you go back and look at some of my earlier videos that I was doing, my lighting was too bright on some of those models. I wasn't paying enough attention to scale, and as I progressed along, you could see I gradually improved on that more and more, because basically my theory about this is that when these light up, they should just be pinpoints of light. They shouldn't create a green or red, you know. The white ones are hard to see on camera because they always look blindingly bright no matter what, but in person it shouldn't leave the lighting, whether it's red, green, or white, it shouldn't leave a halo around the surface here when it's lit up. It shouldn't, you know, if you look at the ships on the films when they fly past and you see the navigation lights and stuff, they're just pinpoints of light. They're not, you know, creating a halo around the lighting area, and that's an indicator that you're lighting up, you know, too bright. You wanted to, you know, if you want it to look less toy-like, like I keep harping on that quite a bit throughout these videos, but it's really important, and it just looks so much more realistic if you can keep that lighting toned down with the scale of the model. So that's something that I've definitely improved on as I've gone along here. Everybody learns as they go. Okay, so we're ready to do the top now. We're going to go inboard here, just on the same spot. Nice thing about this model is that both of these models, you've got these grid lines to work with, so you can have a reference point, you know, to line everything up. You're not guessing. We'll come around here to the back. You can just barely see that nub still there, so let's get that on there. Another advantage to having a nice new sharp drill bit is that it doesn't walk, what we call walk when you start twisting it. By walk I mean start to move off where your center spot where you placed it. It'll start digging in immediately, and that's exactly what you want. Okay guys, so there you can see we've completed our initial prep of these parts here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to head over to our spray area, and we're going to just I'm not going to show that on camera because I've shown that a million times. It's a very simple procedure, guys. I just lightly scuff the inside of these with lately I've been using these Scotch-Brite pads because they create just enough of a you know, a scuff on the surface there to get your primer or your paint to adhere to it pretty good, and it doesn't start digging into the plastic and remove any you know, detail that might be there. Now on the inside it's not that important, but you definitely want to keep in mind you don't want to sand away any of your, you know, you got these really small phaser banks and little things like that that you could sand away if you're not careful. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, guys, and I'll bring these back and show you the result, and we'll go from there. Okay, see you in just a second, everyone. I have returned. Well, you can see, everyone, that I've got these parts light block now with our flat black. I just like to use the real cheap, inexpensive 99 cent a can from Walmart uh, black cover-up paint for this. It's the reason I like to use flat black is that it covers really, really well and it dries really, really fast. The enamel gloss of that same type of paint seems to take forever to dry, so I sprayed these. It only took me less than 10 minutes to do this and come back over here to the bench and get back to you, so that went pretty good, and you can see it's all nice and dry already. So you can see we've got this initial preparation done here. So what I'm going to do is just demonstrate really quick what our battle plan is going to be here. You can see I've got one of these little SMDs pre-wired, which comes with a little resistor on there, set up to run between 9 and 12 volts. This is a 0805 SMD in regular white. Get these from my friend Jerry at HDA Model Works. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put one of these in the location here at the very forward section on the we're going to do the Enterprise Refit here first. So I'm just going to lay this down on here, get it lined up. I want to make sure that I didn't clog my hole at all here with my paint work first, though, so I'm just going to re-drill this real quick. Not a problem. Make sure we're good there. And we're good. Okay, so I'm going to lay this SMD right over the top of that little hole, facing upward, you know, like it's on the front side there. And we're going to just take a tiny little bit of CA glue here, which is perfectly fine to use on these. Get this lined up real good here for you. Want to make sure I'm definitely centered. I got a little bit of plastic flash. It's still trying to overhang that hole a little bit, and I don't want to have that in there blocking my lighting here. So I got that cleared out of there. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm just going to dab a little bit. Get my toothpick here and sort of spread this around a little. Okay, we can hit this with a little bit of kicker now. Doesn't take much, just a little puff. And just give it a second, you'll literally see it crystallize right in front of you when it does its magic. And we are good. Okay, so you can see we still look nice and clean up on the top. The idea now here is that we're going to take our drill bit and just kind of clean this back out a little bit, just a little bit, in case any CA got in there. If you don't push too hard, you won't ruin the SMD. And what we're going to do here, guys, in the end is we're going to put just a tiny little nub of fiber optic onto that with a mushroomed. We're going to, heat the tip of it and mushroom it over, and we'll just lay it in there, and it'll until it sits nice and flush on the surface. And that'll give us our little pinpoint of light that'll come out of there. So let me light this for you now, and we'll see how the overall brightness is. If it's too bright, what I'll do is I will use some resistors of a higher value than this resistor that's on here. I'll just leave this one in place, and I'll bump up one or two. I'm not even sure. These are pre-wired, so I'm not even sure what resistor this is. It might be a 470. I'm not sure. But I have a whole box of resistors that I keep on hand for this very thing. And if it's too bright, I can put a little bit higher resistor on there and dim it right down to where I like it. I can kind of fine tune it. So we've got that option to work with. Get it clamped on here. I'm running this at 9 volts, which will be the voltage of the system once it's all set up. Okay, let me see if you guys can see that now. I'll bring you in. And there we go. There's a little pinpoint of light. Now I like that. I think that's just about right. It's not too bright. That's little halo that you see around there is a little bit of light coming through the plastic because we're right up against it, and even though we've light blocked it, it's still bleeding through a little bit, but not to worry. When we paint the outside of this, that's going to go away. Just one coat of paint on top of this will definitely subdue that. So, but I love our little pinpoint of light there. It's not too bright, as you can see. So that's the theory for all of this, guys. The entire process here will be repeated that we're doing with this, so that we can well, of course we'll have our red and our greens here, we'll have 2 more whites here on the back, and we'll go and look and make sure where all of our colors are supposed to be here. I believe these ones on the rear corners of the Reliant are supposed to be red and green like that. They are up here on the bottom and on the top. The white ones up front. And I think we've got 2 possibly red or white ones that I can't remember. I got to go back and do my Reliant research that are up here next to the crystal. But we'll get those right, and we're gonna, like I said, repeat that entire process until we have all those laid in there, so you can see how actually pretty simple it is to do. And then of course we'll get all wiring all cleaned up and organized and all that, and we'll find a little spot. Now the boards that we're going to be using are the little Starship lighting kit board from Tenant Controls, which I will show you in the next video, and we're going to actually place those inside these models. There's people have different opinions on what to do with the board, whether to have the board down in the base and whether or not, but I prefer to mount them up in the model itself. What I'll do is I'll run the board for a good 24 hours with a couple of LEDs hooked up to it before I install it. And usually, if you're going to have a board fail, it's gonna fail right then and there within the first hour or two. But in all the hours and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours I've had my models in my display room running with all my stuff, I've never had a board fail. The only reason a board's ever failed or went wrong is when I did something wrong when I was soldering it or hooking it up and shorted it out myself. So the products that we're working with here are rock solid, and to me, putting it inside the model is a lot easier, routing the wiring and everything. Trying to have the board, especially when you've got like multiple things that need to come through, you've got a risk of all these wires going up through the model and through the mounting stock and everything. If one was to break off or shear off, you're going to lose whatever that is that's inside. So you can say, well, you'll have to tear the model apart if the board fails on the inside. Well, you'll have to tear the model apart if the wire breaks off on the inside too, or if an LED goes out. Or I mean, there's really not much of an argument there as far as which way is better than the other. It's just whatever is preferable to the builder. And in my case, like I said, it's much easier for the wiring to be done with everything centrally located, and just the power wires, and possibly if we have trigger wires going up in there that operate our different effects and things. But that's how I prefer to do it. So anyways, guys, that's a wrap for this first segment. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to take you through this meticulous process step by step. I promise I'm not going to skip over any major parts of these builds here, because I've tended to do that in the past. This is going to be similar to how we did our Enterprise Refit series and some of the other ones, where you're going to get to see this entire thing, and so you'll understand how it all goes together, so you can do these yourself if you haven't done one of these before. You experienced guys know what this is all about, but the new people out there want to know every little detail, so we hope this will help you out. Okay guys, we'll be back probably next Monday or Tuesday with the next update on this, and we'll get into the starting to plan out the rest of the lighting. We've got to figure out how to light the crystals, how to light the bridge, the deflector dish. That'll be pretty straightforward on the refit, but getting the sensor array on the bottom of the saucer down here on the Reliant, this little section right here lit up, and but we'll get that all worked out, and we'll see if our clear parts are there for our shuttle bays on the Reliant too, so we can light that. So see you in a couple days, guys. Take care and have fun building your models out there. We'll see you next time, everyone.